25 Fun Facts about Qatar. From its history and society to its geography and multicultural population, Qatar is one of the most fascinating countries on earth. Whether you've been here 10 days or 10 years, there's always something new to learn. To celebrate the wonderful country we call home, we've rounded up 25 facts about Qatar, and we guarantee you won't know all of them. Number 1. Qatar is the second flattest country in the world. You've probably noticed by now that the country is pretty flat, but you probably didn't realize just how flat it is. In fact, it's the second flattest country in the world, with its highest point lying at just 338 feet. Only the Maldives is flatter, with a high point of 6 feet. It's good news for cyclists and runners, but bad news for hikers. Number 2. But maybe not for long. Qatar is 2 meters higher than it was 400 years ago. While it might not seem like much, over the past 4 centuries Qatar has slowly been rising due to geological uplift. Number 3. Hamad International Airport is the best airport in the world. Here in Qatar, we're a pretty competitive bunch and we love being a winner, which is why we're happy to be home to the best airport in the world, according to the Skytrax World Airport Awards 2021. If you've traveled through here, you'll know why it's so highly rated, from the fantastic public art to the smooth journey. It's also home to the longest runway in Western Asia at 15,912 feet and 6th longest in the world. Number 4. The inhabitants of Al Khor Island were the first to produce purple shellfish dye. Al Khor Island is one of the most stunning spots to visit in Qatar, thanks to its huge mangrove forest that you can kayak around. Archaeologists have uncovered items dating back to the 2nd millennium BC, and the area was the first in the world to produce purple shellfish dye, which is why it's also known as Purple Island. Number 5. Qatar Airways is the best airline in the world. We did tell you that Qatar is pretty competitive, and national carrier Qatar Airways was named the Airline of the Year at the 2021 Skytrax Awards, becoming the first airline ever to take home the prestigious gong 6 times. Qatar Airways is also one of a select few airlines that flies to all 7 continents, and at one point, it had the longest regularly scheduled flight in the world between Doha and Auckland at 16 hours and 30 minutes. Number 6. Khor Al-Adade is one of the only places in the world where the sea meets desert. The sand dunes of the desert are always breathtaking, but Khor Al-Adade, or the Inland Sea, is extra special. The area, which was declared a nature reserve in 2007, is one of the few places in the world where the sea meets the desert. In fact, Qatar is attempting to get the area named UNESCO World Heritage Site. Number 7. Qatar has a coastline of 563 kilometers. Qatar is a peninsula, which means it is surrounded by water on most of its sides, giving it a long coastline with a length of 563 kilometers. Number 8. Doha has the longest continuous cycle path in the world. The Olympic cycling track in Doha holds a Guinness World Record for being the longest continuous cycle path in the world, which is 33 kilometers long. Created by Ashkal, the Public Works Authority in Qatar, the track was completed in 2020. It runs through 18 underpasses to ensure uninterrupted movement. The track also holds the record for the longest piece of asphalt concrete laid continuously, with a length of 25.3 kilometers. Number 9. Qatar is the second safest country in the world. There are dozens of reasons to love Qatar, from the amazing museums and art galleries to the fantastic beaches and parks. But a major reason people move to this glorious country is the fact that it's among the safest in the world. According to the latest Numbeo Crime Index, Qatar has the second lowest crime rate, at 14.03 points out of 100, just behind Abu Dhabi at 11.72. And this isn't the only time Qatar has been named among the safest destinations in the world. It was also named the safest city in the world in 2017 and 2019, too. That's pretty safe, any way you look at it. Number 10. Men outnumber women by 3 to 1. According to the latest census figures from December 2020, men outnumber women in Doha by about 3 to 1, with just 811,600 women in a population of 2,846,180. In fact, Qatar has the highest male-to-female ratio in the world, with the worldwide average male-female ratio standing at 1.02. The UAE and Bahrain also have high male-female ratios at 2.56 and 1.53 respectively. Number 11. Just 15% of the country is Qatari. Qatar is undoubtedly an attractive country to expats who come here for the great weather, the laid-back lifestyle, and, of course, the tax-free salaries. The pull of Qatar is so great that there are now more than 2 million expats living in the country, which means that Qataris are in the minority at around 15% of the population, according to Visit Qatar. Number 12. The Arabian Oryx is Qatar's national animal. This majestic animal, which was saved from extinction in the 1970s by zoos and reserves, is the national animal of Qatar. You might have spotted the Oryx on the Qatar Airways logo, or, if you're a sports fan, you might recall that an Oryx named Ori was the mascot for the 2006 Asian Games in Doha. Number 13. Robots are used for camel racing in Qatar. Yes, you read that correctly. If you don't already know, camel racing is hugely popular in Qatar, with races taking place at Al Shahaniya camel racing track between October and February every year. Originally, children would be used as jockeys for the camels, but robots have been used instead since 2004 for health and safety reasons. The robots are controlled remotely by the camel herders who often drive alongside the track. Number 14. The name Qatar dates back to 50 AD. Roman writer Pliny the Elder referred to the inhabitants of what is now Qatar as Qatari back in the mid-1st century, and the name has gone through several iterations since then. Qatar was then used until the 18th century, when Qatar became the more common spelling, and several variations, including Qatar, Qatar, and Qatar, were also commonly used until Qatar was officially adopted as the country's name. Number 15. From pearl diving to oil. Pearl diving was a mainstay of the Qatari economy for thousands of years, and is celebrated as a key part of the country's culture. That all changed in the 1920s, when Japan began exporting cultured pearls and the market was flooded. Qatar, like many countries in the Gulf region, pivoted to oil, drilling its first well in 1939, and exporting crude oil as early as 1949. More fields were discovered in 1960, and again in 1970. Oil is now a huge part of the economy, and Qatar is even home to the longest drilled oil well in the world, at 4,320 feet. Number 16. Qatar is one of the richest countries in the world. Looking around at the glitzy skyscrapers and unbelievably ambitious projects like the Pearl Qatar and Lusail, it should come as no surprise to you that Qatar is one of the richest countries in the world. According to the International Monetary Fund's 2020 estimates, Qatar's gross domestic product per capita is a whopping $138,910, putting it well ahead of Luxembourg's $112,045 in second place. Also unsurprisingly, much of this wealth comes from petroleum and natural gas, which account for more than 60% of GDP. Number 17. Qatar's flag has an interesting origin story. The flag of Qatar is all over the city, but have you ever stopped to wonder what it means? Well, we're here to educate you. First off, the 9 serrated edges are meant to signify Qatar's inclusion as the 9th member of the reconciled Emirates of the Persian Gulf during a treaty with the British in 1960. The color, which is defined as Pantone 1955 degrees Celsius, or Qatar maroon, is a nod to the country's role in the purple dye industry on Al-Khor Islands. The flag is also totally unique, as it is the only flag in the world that has a width more than twice the size of its height. That will probably push us over 25 fun facts, but we did say it had an interesting history. Number 18. Qatar's ruling family has been in power since 1868. The House of Thani has ruled Qatar since 1868, following the end of the Qatari Bahraini War. The current emir is Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who has reigned over the country since 2013. Number 19. Qatar's first school was opened in 1949. And its first hospital in 1947. While there had been centers for education way before the 20th century, the first formal school in Doha was established in 1949 by the name Isla al-Mohammadiyah. It was staffed by 1 teacher and 50 students, but rapidly expanded. The American mission opened the first hospital in Qatar in 1947, but the first governmental hospital, Al-Rumaila, opened in 1957 and still operates today. It has been extensively renovated since its inception, but retains its status as Doha's oldest remaining hospital. Number 20. The FIFA World Cup 2022 Qatar marks plenty of historical firsts. The upcoming World Cup in 2022 will be historic for a number of reasons, with Qatar becoming the smallest country and first Arab country ever to host the tournament. It will also be the first to be held during winter, and the first carbon-neutral World Cup, with an 800 MW solar energy plant being built to power the tournament, and all excess emissions offset with other projects. Basically, we can barely contain our excitement for the upcoming event. Number 21. Burj Doha has a unique design. This building is one of the most iconic structures in West Bay, and was even named the best tall building in the world in 2012. Designed by French architect Jean Nouvel, the 46-story tower has a number of unique features you might not have noticed. First off, the building has no central core, and became the first skyscraper to use internal reinforced concrete diagrid columns, which blend in with the building's facade. The facade itself, alongside being beautiful and a reference to the ancient Islamic design mashrabiyah, protects the building from the sun and varies in density around the building depending on where the sun hits it. That's all pretty amazing, but we're mainly fans of the building at night when it lights up. Number 22. The Doha Metro is Guinness World Record breaking. Hopping on board the Doha Metro is a great way to get around the city for less, but did you know the project is actually world record-breaking? During construction, it was awarded a world record for the largest number of tunnel boring machines operating simultaneously in a single project. Try saying that 5 times fast. Number 23. Qatar National Day wasn't always on December 18th. If you've been in Qatar for a while, you'll know just how big a deal National Day is, with top deals and fireworks shows aplenty across the country. December 18th is celebrated as it marks the day Jassim bin Mohammed Al Thani, who managed to unify the local tribes in Qatar, succeeded his father as ruler back in 1878. But prior to 2007, National Day was actually celebrated on September 3rd, the anniversary of Qatar's independence from the British in 1971. Number 24. Matchbouz is Qatar's national dish. If there's one dish you have to try during a visit to Qatar, it's undoubtedly matchbouz. The dish, made of rice, meat, onions and tomatoes, mixed with spices, is the national dish of Qatar. Most importantly, it's incredibly delicious. Number 25. At Wooker Scrapyard, you'll find 20,000 dust-covered vehicles stranded in the desert. In case you hadn't noticed, cars are kind of a big deal in Doha. So much so that there are plans to build a Qatar Auto Museum along the 5/6 Expressway. And if you head to Wooker Scrapyard, you'll find more than 20,000 abandoned vehicles in various states of decay. Some have been mined for spare parts, while others are intact and waiting to be collected by their owners. That's it. If you like this video, share with your friends and subscribe this channel. Thank you.